Hello, my name is Galena. I'm the fiancé of Joshua Lee McCollister, who was murdered on July 8th by Deunn Willis and robbed by Danielle Durand. I'm going to talk about the first time that Josh was almost killed in Fort Bragg. This was about 5-6 months after he got to Fort Bragg, and there had already been a lot of really weird things that had happened. Like I said in the one video, people kept stealing Josh's stuff, but it wasn't normal stuff. They were stealing his dead wife's belongings. This kept happening, and it was this weird psychological stuff that nobody but those who really knew Josh would know just how triggered he would be by this stuff. And people that were strangers kept doing it. And I didn't know what to make of it. He didn't know what to make of it. He was getting pretty frustrated about this stuff, I know that. And still, he was not leaving Fort Bragg. There had been talk about him leaving, up and going back to Southern California, but he wasn't going to leave me. He wasn't going to leave the babies. He was toughing it out, and he was finding ways to make peace with all this really bizarre, passive-aggressive crap that kept happening. And then this incident. So, I always wonder what would have happened if I hadn't been there for this. Josh came into the room and he looked weird. Something just looked off. And I think I asked him if he was okay. And his speech slurred a little. His eyes kind of rolled back, and he buckled at the knees and just fell over. And that happened in front of me and the instigator. And I knew this had to be some kind of OD. And so the ambulance was called. Josh's face was turning colors. He was barely breathing, if he was breathing at all. I remember yelling into the phone while I was trying to hold his head in a certain position. I was yelling at the 911 person. I could have run to the hospital, gotten the ambulance faster than this. Where the hell are they? He's dying. So the EMTs came, and they recognized that this was a fentanyl overdose. And they gave him Narcan, and he survived. And I didn't buy it. Just immediately, I knew that something really horrible happened, because, see, when Josh did good things, he didn't tell people about them. Even me, if he did a good deed, it was his belief you needed to keep it to yourself, because if you're doing it for accolades, you're not doing it because it's a good deed, you're doing it for attention. I knew that one of the things that Josh did was he would look for places that gave out free Narcan, and then he would go to distribute them throughout the community to the homeless. That he did this on a regular basis. He probably saved a lot of lives by doing this, and he did it compulsively. In fact, when I found when I was going through his effects in Humboldt County that Sonny and Bessie had collected in a large bucket for me, I was not at all surprised that there were unopened boxes of Narcan, because he just made such a point to give these to homeless people. And the reason that he did this is because one of the people that he loved most in the world had died from a fentanyl overdose. And Josh hated fentanyl. Like, he frickin' hated fentanyl so badly. As a result, he hated fentanyl dealers with a passion. Frickin' hated fentanyl dealers. And he used to say the only thing that fentanyl was good for was to kill yourself. Like, if you're not killing yourself, do not ever touch that stuff. So the fact that he had just OD'd on fentanyl, I knew somebody had done something rotten to him. I knew it. He would never have done this, and he never would have done it where his family might find him. Like, he would never have done it if he was going to try and kill himself, and that's the only reason he would have taken fentanyl. He would never have done it where the babies could find him. Never in 1,000 years. I knew somebody had dosed him. I didn't know how it had happened or who, but I knew. And a few days, I think maybe the next day, he called me in to talk to him about it, and he was like, he had tears going down his face, and he was trying to protest. Gee, I didn't do it. Gee, I'd never do this. And I said, I know you wouldn't. I told him, I'm just so glad you're okay. And we'll figure this out. Because I knew that he did not do this. And whoever had done it was not aware of Josh's feelings about fentanyl. Wasn't aware that he handed out Narcan to the homeless and just tried to save people's lives. You know, that's what he did. They didn't know this. It was a couple days after this that the instigator told me that yes, this had been not an accident, that this had actually been an attempted murder. He said a couple names, which I didn't recognize. They were men's names. And the exact words that the instigator said were, quote, "They tried to kill my boy," end quote. And I was shocked. I had my gut instinct that Josh didn't do this, but I didn't think that it was ever going to be confirmed. And I just didn't understand, well, why would these people do this? What's the point? Why try to kill Josh? I assumed that because I thought that the instigator and Josh had a good relationship still. I thought that they were friends. I assumed that the instigator, knowing who these people were, that he would tell Josh, and Josh would find out why these people tried to kill him, how they tried to kill him, because his memory about the whole incident, it was a bit foggy. And now I don't know if Josh ever did know. If he was ever told these people's names or anything. You know, it's a very strange thing when people have an end goal of what they're going to do to you. And I know these people's end goal of what they want to do to me. You know, it's about money. It's all about the crap with my dad. They think they're going to get something out of that. And they were willing to do things to get my bodyguard out of the way, essentially. If Josh had died, it would never have been investigated as a murder. Like, never. You know, You think about fentanyl in Mendocino County, there's so many people that have died of it. How many murder investigations are there regarding fentanyl ODs? I don't remember the last time I heard of someone ODing in fentanyl and the cops looking at it as potentially a homicide. This is like, fentanyl ODs are so common in Mendocino County that it's just, they'd have gotten away with it. They really would have. And I truly believe that this was just, they were trying to get him out of the way that quickly. Like, even 6 months after he got there, I think they just decided that they had to get him out of the way. And if it had happened someplace else, because he talked about wanting to just be back in the arms of Colleen all the time, they might have been able to even sell it to me that, he'd killed himself, except for the fact that it was where the babies would have seen it. He would never, ever in 1,000 years have let the kids see him if he had tried to kill himself. No way. It didn't happen again, because, you can only sell that story once. If I had not been there to help save his life, if I had not seen this, I don't know if he would have survived or not. He probably wouldn't have. He probably would have died there on the floor, and people would have thought it was a suicide attempt. It wasn't. Josh wanted to live. He wanted his life. He didn't deserve to be treated like that. And to that first cousin of the instigator, who is a fentanyl dealer, I'm always going to wonder if they were somehow connected to this, because the people that were doing all this stuff to us, I want to be really clear, all these flying monkeys, these were not like John Q. Public. These were not Jane Q. Public. These were bad people. These were dealers that kept coming at us. These were fentanyl dealers, meth dealers, fentanyl addicts, meth addicts. These were not good people. These were people that you could have paid them like $200 and say, go beat that person up, and they'll do it because they're cracked out of their mind on whatever they're on. We never knew who was going to come at us, because it kept winding up being drug addicts, essentially. People who are desperate and who will do a lot of things for very little money. Josh was making something of his life. He really was, and he wanted to help other people. He wanted to protect his family and help other people. He didn't deserve to be treated this way.